Listen up, all fight fans and fitness junkies. You've been listening to me talk about Jocko Fuel for a while now, and if you've been waiting, the wait is over. This August, you can score a massive 30% off on all of Jocko Fuel's top-tier supplements. That's right, 30% off. Jocko Fuel is loaded with all of the good stuff and none of the bad. We're talking no added sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and absolutely no gray area or banned substances. Just pure, clean fuel to power your performances. And guys, I really want you to try some of my favorites like Jocko Go and Jocko Hydrate. This deal is only going to be available for the month of August. So use code Chael30 or go to JockoFuel.com. Don't wait. Fuel up with Jocko Fuel and crush your goals. Guys, click on the link below to make it happen. Men's freestyle wrestling, the United States did not win a gold medal for the first time in 56 years. Now, I see this headline, I couldn't believe it. I don't know of a bigger wrestling fan than me. I know a couple of equals, like Christian Pyle, just by example, would be an equal, but I don't know if he's more of a fan than me. 56 years. When I read that, I thought, well, that isn't true. We had some real dry spells in there. So I'm just going off the top of my head. I'm thinking back, going, no, we did medal there. 2008, just by example. That we had no medals. I remember, no, that was Henry Cejudo's year. So 56 years. Now, you got to understand, we wrestled very well. Like, the men's team was awesome. And the men's team did awesome. I'm just talking about specifically men's division, freestyle wrestling, and specifically a gold medal. Been 56 years since there's been an Olympics, and we did not win one. You know, I came across another fun fact. One thing that's very difficult with wrestling in the Olympics. I mean, wrestling is such a hard thing to do. I think we can all agree on that. But the opportunity is limited, right? Just the word Olympics. One of the reasons that that's so coveted is there aren't very many of them. Once every 4 years. So then you have weight classes. And in wrestling's case, we only have 6. So every 4 years, 6 people even have the opportunity to make this dream come true. And I came across a stat when you're qualifying your country, what your nation has to do with the IOC to qualify your country to be able to put an entrant. If you're the host country, you don't have to do that. You're automatically, for the host country, you automatically get a spot. So in 2028, it is going to be a real opportunity in the U.S., specifically for our Greco, but what a relief off of everybody that we will at least get spots. And there is such a changing of the guard. I don't know what's happening in wrestling. One of the craziest times is the year after Olympic year, because so many guys retire and so many other young guys come and they emerge. And you got to really dig deep, particularly if you're a veteran and you come off of an Olympic cycle. If you're still in college, you got eligibility, you're one of these young guys, or you just finished up a few months ago, hang in there a little bit longer, it's very different than if your college eligibility is behind you and you have to find a way to even be involved in an environment or a situation to get the training in. So when the Olympics are done, you really are doing some soul searching. It's not just physically, it's mentally. But I will tell you, Kyle Dake is not retired. He didn't take his shoes off. He didn't say the words. Jordan Burroughs has not retired. He did not take his shoes off. He has not said the words. He was a broadcaster all week, and he could have slipped it in there anytime. He's got his phone. He could go put that on Twitter. I mean, this is what wrestlers do, but he didn't do it. It's such an interesting time. Are those guys going to stay? Are they going to do another cycle? Are they going to battle this out? Do they view the fact that the Olympics are coming to Los Angeles as this big opportunity? And Kyle Dakes was so interesting. He goes out into the semifinals. When the semifinals came around, I had seen both of Dake's previous matches, but I had not seen his opponent. He's going to take on the Japanese wrestler in the semifinals. When that round starts and this gentleman steps onto the mat, I knew that bracket and I had studied that bracket. And Chimaev's up there. Chimaev draws a world silver medalist in the very opening round. Like, it's a very loaded quarterfinal, and I was not expecting the Japanese athlete to emerge, and he did. So I'm wondering, what does Dake know about this guy? Like, there is nothing in any sport that will cause an upset more than the athlete finding themselves in a competition that is harder than they thought it was going to be. So I'm looking at it as a fan and saying, I did not expect this guy. Well, what if Kyle Dake's like me? What if he did not expect this guy? And this guy, he didn't have a muscle on him. He looked very young. He looked very unimposing. Kyle Dake pushes him out of bounds. Kyle Dake shoots, takes. I've never seen anybody that can score a point when they need it as well as Kyle Dake. Like, Kyle will be out there battling with you, but if he needs to score, it's a completely different animal. At any rate, at one point, we're up 3-0. When the Japanese makes his first offensive attempt, it's a low single. It's a low single to the right leg. This is the fastest shot I've ever seen. And I am not saying, I don't want you to hear me wrong, I'm not saying it was the fastest shot I've ever seen at that weight class. No. It was the fastest shot I have ever seen. Period. So, he scores, right? He gets in nice and deep. Don't see this coming. He gets 2 points. He goes right back to it. He doesn't make an offensive attempt except for this low single again to the right leg. They get a scramble, comes out 2-2. He goes back to it again. He gets 2. His next offensive attempt is the same shot in that it was a low single. Now it's to the opposite leg. And I really never knew we had a problem until that happened. When this guy from an ordinary stance fires a low single and he can do it to both legs, I realize we have a problem. And this turns into the dog fight. This was one of the great athletic competitions of the entire Olympics. There ends up being 32 points on the board. There most definitely was some controversy within scoring, but even if we go back and we give all that controversy to Dake, and nobody's raising that concern, just me. But if we give the benefit of the doubt to Dake in all of those, we still lose the match. So, Dake now has to come back and wrestle for third. The way the bracketing is done in wrestling, if you lose in the semis, that's something called a repechage, but you go into the repechage. Either way, it's when I grew up, we called it consolation. It's the same thing. Except if you lose in the semis, you're automatically in the bronze medal match. Who your opponent is has to come back through this thing called repechage, as we would know as consolation. So Dake's out there wrestling, and this turns into a mess. Dake gets to his coveted position, which is a chest lock, and there's a protest. So when you have a protest in wrestling, you have a brick, quite literally. You have a brick, a protest, and you can protest. If you get the protest wrong, they'll rewind the tape. They'll bring over the 3 referees. They'll bring in an arbiter. Quite frankly, they're really good. Yes, wrestling, there's human error, and lots of calls get made that are the wrong call. When they protest and they come back and look at it, they're really good. And Dake is arguing a specific sequence off of a chest lock. But when they go to replay it, they show Dake in a chest lock sequence, but it's a different sequence. He'd been to that same position multiple times in the match. Now, Dake is yelling that. When they do the replay, it's shown all through the building. You can see it at home. So Dake, right on the mat, can watch the replay himself. And he's yelling to his coach, that's the wrong sequence. Look at it. It's time-stamped. It's the wrong sequence. Now, I must tell you, I thought Dake was wrong. I don't fully know what he meant, but I think it was the correct sequence. Open for debate. Point is, we've now lost our athlete. When Dake is yelling from the mat to his corner and he's so invested in a specific position as opposed to the X amount of time that's on the clock, we've now lost our athlete. Well, not so fast. As I mentioned a moment ago, nobody can get a score when they need to score like Kyle Dake. Makes his shot, gets behind the guy. Instead of trying to flatten him out for 2, he throws him for 5, which you don't see in freestyle and you don't see in medal matches. You never see in a medal match in freestyle. It was incredible. Goes right into his gut wrench. Kyle Dake put 7 points up on the board in the course of 4 seconds. And it was just one of these awesome moments. And that whole bracket was so fascinating. The gentleman, he signed with Bellator now. But that Kyle had in the previous Olympics that have upset it. That guy goes out, he doesn't even medal. Sidakov isn't there, and with this massive changing of the card, who knows if that would have mattered. What is Kyle going to do moving forward? Is Jordan Burroughs going to throw his hat in the ring? Like there was so many moving parts, and USA wrestled so well. And when a headline came out that they did not get a gold medal for the first time in 56 years, almost like it was a negative. And that's not what I saw. There was nothing to apologize for. This is not a team that needs reevaluated. This is not a process where we got to reevaluate and back to the drawing board. This was an awesome group. And they wrestled awesomely, whether they got a gold medal or not.